Hey y'all, it's Burgess Taylor from Journey with Burgess, and we're going to do a response video to Brie from Documented Journeys. Video about her thoughts on journaling, spending, and finding your why. So I'm putting it all out there just like Brie said. Consistency has been an issue for me as well. Back in 2017, I did a journal series, and the first video was about why I journal. Now, it's an older video, and things have improved since then, so I'm going to leave the link up there. I actually did a journal series, the how, the what, the why. It gives you a synopsis of how I started journaling and my story in regards to journaling. I've been journaling for over 45 years. My very first journal was a little pink diary with a lock and a key. As I get to this, why do I journal? Answering the question, looking in the mirror, I'm an avid journaler. I'd have to say I'm a text journaler. I document my life, collage on occasion, sketch, art, artist sketchbook journaler, I don't know, a memory keeper, a bullet journaler. And if I had to, I'd probably have to check all of the boxes. Like, if I had to break it down, it would probably be that I'm a document my life journaler, and I use the combination of words and art. Though my journaling has evolved over the years, the core of my journaling why is the same. Each journal is like a chapter of the novel of my life. It's my story, it's stories, it's events and thoughts, feelings, it's pictures, it's everyday life ephemera. But like I said, if I absolutely had to label the kind of journaler that I am, it would definitely be a document your life journaler. Using the combination of word and art, the art would include things like drawings and collage, watercolor, pictures, stickers on occasion, sometimes journaling cards. Sometimes I make this stuff myself. Sometimes it comes from everyday life ephemera like tags and things like that to things that I have purchased or that come in magazines or whatever. The words would be anything from lists to quotes, a story or a joke, a bit of conversation, a synopsis of my day or an event or something. On being a YouTuber and spending, this is going to be a doozy. Over the past few years, I've been all over the place. It hit me before One Book July, so I used One Book July to on purpose change things up every week because I'd been so all over the place from the last few years since my dad died of cancer and my mom almost died. I switched from A5 primarily to B6 primarily on the in-between since then, and now I've used standard. I actually even tried B6 Slim and enjoyed it, which was a change because if you had listened to any of my videos, you often have heard that I just do not like B6 Slim. Overwhelmed for the past few years with grief, battling depression, and this past year it's been stress and anxiety and worry for a number of reasons, not just the Rona and this year, this crazy topsy-turvy dumpster fire year, but family stuff. Since July, I've been finding my groove back, but I've purchased more in the past few years than I have over probably, not definitely, but probably the bulk of my journaling lifetime. Why? I had to take a long, hard look at that because when we, a few months ago, decided to actually purchase the barn because my mom and my son were going to come live here because my mom's house had become a dangerous place to live in, the foundation has gotten destroyed. We were afraid that the flooring or maybe was going to cave in, or my mom was going to fall through the flooring, or my son, my brother. It had become dangerous. I've been on a no spend since sometime in September. I've only been really getting things that I needed or things that were for next year that I felt like I needed, or if I had a gift card or some Amazon affiliate money. Now, there are things that I have that I've not shared. There are things that I ordered way back in July, August, and September that have not come in yet, thanks to the Rona and the postal, everything that's been going on. It's just taking a lot longer for things to come in. I will eventually share some of those things. I'm not really big on reviewing though. Except for like absolute necessities now, I'm not getting things unless they're really a necessity. So stuff for the barn to studio conversion, things for the house, groceries, which have gone up, and they are actually living with us. So I've got to get this room. You can see boxes I've been going through stuff. I've already taken the stuff from a lot of the stuff from the top of the Calex units. My son and I went through and took out the Rubbermaid shelving unit that was in this closet, and I have hung up some of my clothes in there because my mom is now in the guest room, which is where I had my stuff in the closet. David and I's closet is the smallest closet out of all the bedrooms, which makes no sense since it's the master bedroom, but anyway. So as I've started to box up things and to take a hard look at what I have in here, going through things, just even looking at things, I have become really stressed out and overwhelmed because there are things that I'm finding that I had forgotten I'd gotten. There are things that I'm finding that I barely used. Some things I've never used. I'm going through things and figuring out what I want to take with me into the barn and what I don't. So purging and organizing and figuring out how I want the furniture set up in there, and realizing that when I originally set up this room, I set it up as more of a writer. So the bookcases are on each side of my desk. I need to switch things around so that supplies are on each side of my desk. But I've realized just how much stuff I have. Like I said, that I barely used, some things I haven't used, and why. And that's overwhelming for me anyway. I have anxiety, ADHD, and depression. Clutter is not a good thing when you have those things. But clutter is exactly what has happened in here. I don't want that to be in the barn. That's not, no. Everything needs to have a place. I need to have things that I'm using on a regular basis or that I need for, like, say, a project. But these things that I purchase because of FOMO or because I feel like I need because I'm a YouTuber or because people have asked me to review things, you don't often see me reviewing things unless it's something I really want or would use anyway. People email me all the time about things to review, and I don't usually anymore. I've gotten a few things. Like there were a couple of different planner kind of things. Not my cup of tea. So now I review the things I purchase because I purchased them. Or review things if somebody sent me something because it's something I am wanting to try that I've not tried, something I'm interested in trying, something that I know I'll like. The acrylic marker pens, I actually have used those quite a bit, and I've got the video where I did the barn journal, and I've got other things, but I need to actually do a real review of them. I did one for Patreon, but I did that with the barn thing, and I actually used them for something else, and I'm going to do a voiceover for that. Patreon has already got it because they're actually pretty cool, the Parku acrylic paint pens. And being overwhelmed by all of this, it's not been overwhelmed like, oh wow, look at all my stuff. Not in a good way. I've had to realize and admit to myself, I saw that I was on the path towards severe FOMO, that overwhelm and severe FOMO overwhelm, maybe even perhaps a slight bit of hoarderism. If I hadn't had to stop because of the barn, because of I was getting more and more miserable because of the clutter, because you can't bring a bunch of stuff in and not put anything out and not have clutter. This is a small room. It's like an 11 by 11, and then I had a closet where I could store things. I think it would have become more of a problem and become more overwhelming, and I'd have become more stressed out and anxious. I'm not a minimalist, as you can tell. I'm never going to be a minimalist. I have been collecting things since I was a kid. That Snoopy book up there I've had since I was, 5 or 6 years old. It's from the early 70s. And I've got my collection of the Chronicles of Narnia paperback books. I've got my hardbound books from Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web and The Trumpet and the Swan still. There are things that I've had since I was little. Now, unfortunately, my Little Pink Diary and some of my journals and stuff from when I was younger, all the way into my 20s and early 30s, I don't have because a place I used to live in got flooded.
I know I'll never be a minimalist.
The stuff is just icing on the cake. It's what you put in your journal. It's the actual journaling that's the substance, that is the cake.
Do I really need 10 to 15 or 20 or 100 fountain pens? Do you really need 10 to 15 or 20 or however many watercolor palettes?
Do you need
all the monthly sticker kits, or stickers, even?
Do you need 20 different journals, or
50 different journals, or 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 different journal covers, or 10 or 20 or 50 sketchbooks, or 4 to 40 different types of pigment liner pens?
Pen sets, or 5 different whatevers? No. So what do I use on an everyday, regular basis? I actually use a waterproof pen One of the pens that I use is oftentimes one of my TWSBI Ecos, which is a fine point, but a lot of times to draw, especially when I'm sketching, this platinum carbon desk pen that I have MacGyvered, I've had since pretty much the beginning of my journey with Hobonichi, art, document my day kind of journaling. When I switched from being primarily a text journaler with adding bits of everyday life ephemera like pictures and tags and cards and receipts and whatever, brochures, things from magazines or pamphlets or postcards. I've had this pen since then. This was under $10. My very first fountain pen was a $3 Platinum Preppy, which has since broken. David tried to fix it and he couldn't. I have
Whoa. I have several different kinds of fountain pens now. I have this. I actually have a black one and a clear lidded one, but my black one broke. I've got to see if I can fix it.
I've got
two different ones of these, a purple and a red, so that they match each other.
I've got
a TWSBI Mini. I've got a TWSBI Classic.
I've got the
Pilot Vanishing Point.
Do I need all those? No. Do I use them all on a regular basis? You know what I use on a regular basis? These. Along with, it's on my journal right now, and that's a Uniball eye, which is waterproof. I primarily use waterproof ink, waterproof pens, use watercolors on a regular basis. I use my mild liners.
These Zig Clean Color dots. I also have the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pen things, and I use those sometimes.
I hardly ever use my, what are they called? I don't even remember what they're called now. The brush pens that are dual-sided, the black, whatever they call. I can't even think of what they're called because I hardly ever use them anymore. I use my Crayola Super Tips much more than I ever use those, and I can't even think of what they're called right now. And all these people were brush lettering and stuff with them. I use them mostly for watercolor stuff and for highlighting, but now I use Crayola Super Tips mostly because they're a lot less expensive. I use my Polaroid Zip. Now, would I like to have a new compact pocket printer? Yes, but until this one doesn't work anymore, I'll have this one. I use glue sticks on a regular basis. I use my date stamp, which costs next to nothing, and this ink pad that I've had forever that eventually I'll have to replace. Will I have to get glue sticks and adhesive and correction tape and maybe eventually some more waterproof ink? Probably. Those are necessity things. But since I'm blessed to have my own space and then moving into a little bit bigger space, but that is because, like I said, my mom, my son are in with us. Would I have eventually gotten a barn to convert to a studio? Yes, that was on David and I's agenda. That was on our goal list, but that was something we were going to do later. Gotten the heating and air done in the house, after we'd finished all the flooring, after we'd gotten my dad's truck fixed, after we'd gotten the SUV fixed. But life happens. And because life happens, I've had to reevaluate what I have in here, what I want to take with me into the barn, and I don't want to take everything. I'm looking in the top of that closet, and I'm like,
oh my gosh.
And I'm looking at the floor and this big vinyl clear bag, zip bag that a comforter came on, that I have all of this scrapbook paper and things.
I'm going to go through everything.
I'm going to go through literally everything, because when I moved from the purple room into here, I did not do that. When we moved this new furniture into here a year ago or so, I didn't do that. I just put stuff up, and there's stuff in bins that I don't even know what is what and where it is.
What is what and where is, I have no idea.
And that's stressful.
That's stressful.
So I actually envy I'm working at my desk in my bedroom. I used to be that person, and things were a lot more organized. Seems like the more stuff you get, the less organized you can become. And it's much simpler when you don't have a whole lot, and you have less to choose from. And I think it forces you to be more creative with what you do have. The anxiety and the depression and the ADHD are contributing factors. The grief, contributing factor. There's this wide array of fancy things that are available to everybody if you can purchase them, if you can afford them. And when you can't afford them, you feel like you're missing out on something. That's when you have the fear of missing out. That's what FOMO is. And when I very first started this journey, this Hobonichi document your day journey, I had very little. My daughter gave me a set of Prismacolor pencils, a 12 count, and a 12 count set of Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I had a Prang watercolor set that eventually moved up to something else, that eventually moved up to something else, and now I have a shit ton of watercolor palettes. I'll never be able to use, I can't use them all in one day. I mean, I could if I chose one color from every single palette. I remember when I first moved up to Arts Gray watercolors, one of my patrons, who's no longer a patron, had gotten some, and she made me a little palette out of them and sent them to me, and I was in awe, because to me, I had moved up to the big thing of the Winsor & Newton, the 45 count Winsor & Newton Cotman student grade watercolors. I had Jane Davenport's watercolors were a big deal to me. The Gonzai Tambi watercolors were, they're so juicy. I love them. I need to get mine out.
I don't even know where they're at right now.
Would I love to have a silhouette or a pre-cut to make my own stickers with? Oh yeah. It'll be a long while before I get one of those. Would I love to have a new cover and an A6 Hobonichi English version? Yes. Would I love to have a new A5 cover for the Hobonichi Avec cousin that I should be in any day, that I ordered a long while back from an Etsy shop? Yes. But will I? No, I'm not getting a new cover. I have a beautiful red leather cover, actual Hobonichi cover that Maya, my friend who passed away. So sad. I have that cover, and I'll be using that cover because every time I use it, I think about Maya. And it's a collector cover, so. I also have a folio from Sojourner that is in a gorgeous burgundy color that I may end up using, because I switch them up depending, because I don't want to mess up the A5 Hobonichi cover that Maya gave me, so I use it sometimes. And that's the thing, I mean, if you love it, use it. Maya wouldn't want me hoarding it, saving it, you know, but I am a bit careful with it because it is a collector cover, because Maya did give it to me. But are some of those things a need, or are they just a want? I have, and if you look over here, and you can't really see too well, over here. Yeah. There are leather covers in those bins. I have a number of A5 covers. Some of them are Traveler's Notebooks, which work pretty well for the AVAC system, but I still prefer the folio or the actual Hobonichi cover, because the Hobonichi cover has the little pockets for you to put things in. And I understand wanting the fancy things. Believe me, I've seen some of the covers that are out for Hobonichi, and I'm like, oh. And I do really want to get a Hobonichi blank or a Hobonichi day free in the A6, because I have this is Victor's and this is Selena's, and I want to do one for David. I've had this cover forever. This cover came from Etsy, and I think it was like $10 or $15. I got it months ago when I started setting these up. I want to do one for David. Do I want and have wanted for the past 2-3 years a 5-year Hobonichi? Yes. Have I purchased one? No, not yet. Eventually.
I'll get one. Would I love to have?
Would I love to have all of the things? Yes. I have a berry colored cork cover from Brie that she made me when she first started the cork covers, and I love that thing. And it actually has a journal in it that I do some journaling in it for just me, that I don't really put on social media at all, and that's okay. Would I love to have some more of her cork covers?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Do I really want to order a new notebook from her?
Yes, I want
one of her notebooks to be my sketchbook for next year, in a B6 size, because I love her journals, but I also love the fact that there's this mixture in the journals that I usually get from her, a Tomaway River paper and mixed media paper. So on the Tomaway River paper, I usually do more of the journaling, and on the mixed media paper, I do more of the sketching. So on the Tomaway River side, I'll do like some journaling and maybe add a picture and like a little thumbnail or a sketch or something, and then on the mixed media paper I do like a bigger sketch. I love those. I've been using my sketchbook. I have sketchbooks that I could take the paper out of and make my own, and I can actually bind my own notebook, but they're never as well bound or as good as the ones that Brie makes, and I know this. If I get Christmas money, I'll be purchasing one of her notebooks for 2021. From now until then, I actually have a notebook that I do some sketches in that is hers, that I've almost finished.
And then I have my sketchbooks
that I've been trying to finish, because I really want to finish the damn sketchbook. I really want to finish a damn sketchbook. Are things justifiable? I could make all different kinds of reasons for why I need this or that or the other. But the truth is, do I really need them? And if the answer is no, and it's a want, not a need, then I'm right back to square one, where I have all this stuff, some of which I don't even know where it's at, or I don't even remember I had it, and I need to go through all this because we're converting this barn to the studio so I can get all the stuff out of this room except the one red bookcase that my son is going to be using, because he has a lot of books too. My mom too. My mom's got bookcases, and I've got to make room for some of this stuff. Are there things that I purchased that I really wish I hadn't purchased? Of course. Are there things that I want to purchase that I really want to purchase but haven't been able to? Of course. But there needs to be this happy medium, I think, this balance. And one of the things that I've actually really had to take a hard look at and admit to myself is everything should have a place. And whenever I bring something in, it has to be worth me bringing it in, because that means I need to get rid of something. Otherwise, it's going to end up a mess all over again. And I'm not moving all of this stuff into that barn to studio.
Not doing it.
I want everything to be organized. I want everything to have a place. I want to know where everything is at. When Brie did her video about your why, about spending and YouTube, I understand. This last bit of 2020 and then next year in 2021, I am changing things up. I've already been in the process of changing things up. Not really the core of how I journal, because I know what my style is now. I'm a document my lifer. I'm a documenter of my life. Think maybe that sounds better. The how and why and what I'm going to be using, I'm going to be explaining things in a video to come, or probably 1 or 2 or 3 videos to come. But this is where I'm at right now. As Arthur Ashe would say, start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. That's my new motto. I have had to start where I'm at. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And I'm blessed to have this. I'm turning a barn shed into a studio. It's a little 10 by 16 with 2 lofts. Thank goodness the lofts are going to be for storage, because one of those lofts I'm going to be using for storage. And our house is not a tiny house, but it's a small house. And we don't have room for every single thing. So thank goodness I got the barn with the 2 lofts, because I can have my loft for storage. And unfortunately, the loft that Victor wanted to turn into a little bunk bed for himself will have his Uncle Doug's stuff up there. And maybe eventually I can turn it into a little bunk bed kind of thing for Victor to hang out in. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to leave the link for Brie's video. MyLifeMits also did a video right before Brie's about why she journals while she journaled in her Hobonichi cousin. There have been a number of other people who have done videos about why they journal. But Brie's was about more than that. It was also about your why and about the things. And I know if you're like me, the things, man, it's very tempting.
Very tempting.
But I have learned my lesson the hard way. All the things don't make your journaling better. All the things don't make you turn up to the page. All the things can become very overwhelming and stressful if you're not getting them for the right reason. And if you're getting things just because somebody else has it, but it's not something that's really going to resonate with you. From now on, well, considering the fact that I'm on a no spend other than what's absolutely necessary, but when the no spend is no longer there, even with the no spend, I'll be looking at what I buy with very much with intention. Is this something I really need? Is it worth bringing in? Because that means I have to take something out. And that's where I'm at, y'all. I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you again soon. And thank you so much to all of you. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and the little notification bell. And if you can, if you would like to, in the comments, tell me why you journal and what you think. Bye, y'all.